now how expensive is these courses?
Tony.
It doesn't make any
Oh, no, you know how
sense.
expensive the fare is nowadays?
No, I have to.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock, we're going to start our meeting. And we start with roll call. It looks like all board members are present and our administrator. And on the approval of the August 12th, tonight's meeting, the approval of the agenda, number one. Kathy makes the motion. Katrina second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, then we need approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 15th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Kathy?
Can I make a comment
Sure.
about the minutes? I noticed in the minutes that there's, on the public correspondence that I made a comment to, my comment was left out.
Which one?
The public correspondence.
No, what's your comment?
What she's referring to, if I'm not mistaken, is during our board meeting last month, there was a correspondence that we read aloud, it was a letter, and she commented out of line, there was not public comment after the correspondence, so that's why it wasn't in the minutes, because it wasn't considered public comment. We only have public comment at the beginning of the meeting and on board actions of the vote.
That's illegal.
It is not.
No.
There has to be public comment on each item.
It was a
of business.
correspondence.
Is correspondence on the agenda?
Yes, it is, but we do not have to have public comment for every item that's on the agenda, and I know I'm correct. So
Oh, where is my grant?
it's right here, it's mine. So,
Well, I'll be happy to look it up for you.
Okay, so I'll take note of that.
thank you.
Okay, so we need, we have a motion, we need a second for the minutes.
Peter and Katrina. were
That's
here.
right, you'll second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, public comment. Items not on agenda limited to 3 minutes. Matters requiring discussion or action by the board will be placed on the agenda for the next regular meeting. Now, who's first in public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I wrote a letter for public correspondence that I don't believe made it into this month's board packet. Can you verify?
I have not seen.
I sent it to Steve and Diane.
And it was about,
It was about what happened at last month's meeting.
My word.
okay.
I haven't seen.
And is there a reason for this not to be put into public
No,
correspondence?
not that I can think of, unless it was just forgotten.
If it was sent to, was it sent to Steve and requested to be put in the agenda?
It was
Sent to you and I.
titled, it was sent to you and Steve, entitled as public correspondence.
I remember the letter, yeah. Okay, we'll get it on next one.
Shall I read it?
If you, under 3 minutes, sure.
Okay. I sent this on Friday, July 19th by email to Diane and Steve, and I carbon copied Leslie. The subject was public correspondence. And my letter is, to the MRRPD board, I was appalled and shocked by the accusatory letter that Kathy LaPlante read into the record at the last MRRPD public meeting on behalf of Leslie Public and Leslie's further verbal elaboration on the subject. That a decision was made to present Leslie's letter in public with no supporting evidence or proof seemed incredibly irresponsible and slanderous. In the interest of clarity, I am attaching the original chain of emails of July 6th, 7th, and 8th, and Leslie's public correspondence letter of July 11th to this email. The original email in question was not sent to a random or public email distribution list. The 5 people it was sent to were Brian Grant, Stephanie Felch, and Steve Baxman, who are on the Facilities Committee, Diane DiMartini, who is a district administrator, and me, a member of the Public Outreach Committee. Peter was merely passing along a complaint from his constituents out of concern that the restrooms might be locked on a busy day, and in no way does it suggest a slight directed at Leslie. Peter sent this email to people who might be able to correct the problem as soon as possible. He had no way of knowing that Diane would be in her office on a Saturday, which was the only reason he sent it to her personal email address. I believe that I was copied on the original email because I have a history of concern and interest in how and what information MRRPD chooses to present to the public. It's blatantly obvious that Diane DiMartini twisted the intent of Peter's email suggest it was an insult to Leslie, as well as mischaracterizing it as having been sent to a random email distribution list. It's also fairly safe to assume that Diane was the one who shared and encouraged her personal inflammatory spin on the email with Leslie, which led to the scathing indictment that was read at the last public meeting. Finally, I find it difficult to believe that Leslie actually saw Peter's email. The supreme irony is that Leslie is the one person who, without question, is perceived by everyone as actually earning the money that she gets from Parks and Rec. That she performs her job with full dedication and continually goes above and beyond the call of duty is absolutely without question. In fact, this has been a topic of conversation between Peter and myself. Leslie even takes personal responsibility for maintenance issues that are impossible to adequately address with her limited hours and the scope of the grounds. I hope the board will investigate and take action on what was clearly an orchestrated and deliberate manipulation of Leslie to vilify Peter Andrews. Capital Plant's role and motivation in this complaint should also be seriously considered based on her eagerness to support these unfounded charges, her past record of an inordinate interest in censoring Peter Andrews, not to mention the public, and her history of questioning of Peter's loyalty to the board. Sincerely, Tia Ray-Lure.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Other public comment? Yes.
It seems late and not late. I was in attendance at the June meeting in Occidental regarding what the regional park folks are calling the West County Gateway. It was very clear at that meeting that Montero is part of this gateway. I'm having a hard time imagining that if the board didn't know that regional parks had Montero included in this plan. As I understand it, it's Occidental, Bodega Bay, Jenner, and Montero. Then I'm letting you know now, or I'm sharing the information that I have now, that regional parks, even though they showed up last week in Occidental with the mea culpa, it still seems to me that County Regional Parks has something planned for all of us out here, and I think it would probably behoove the board to find a way to get a hold of the appropriate people in Occidental, Bodega Bay, and Jenner to spend some time trying to figure out how they can approach regional parks together, since regional parks has its eye on doing something out here, and until last week without including the public in the discussion at all. So if this could be put on next month's agenda to further discuss how Park and Rec can become involved in this discussion, I would be very grateful. It was really concerning.
Okay, that's a gateway program?
Yeah, regional
okay.
parks.
We'll put it on the agenda.
I'd be grateful.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay. Gateway program, yes, Carol Hart from County Parks.
We should be fine.
We should talk to her. Or is it county?
Yeah.
Is it county parks? Okay, any other public comment? Someone else? No other public comment? Okay, thank you. Then we'll go to old business, Friends of Monterey annual contract. Continue.
Okay, Steve and I have been working with Friends of Monterey to set up a mutual agreement, basically as partners for certain events that they have during the year that we feel it's important for the community and for us to be co-sponsors and with them, partners with them actually. So we've got basically a contract, I guess, written up on how we provide that. So it's open for discussion from the board members.
What's in the contract?
I guess I just need to back up just with questions, if that's okay. Are we calling it a contract, or are we calling it a sponsorship agreement, or is it a memorandum of understanding? Like, what is the form, or I guess what is the intention of what we're signing? is it just to write down what we agreed to? Is it just kind of?
Yeah, basically,
Report the agreement that's in place?
yes, we were going to start with 4 annual events, and we were going to form an agreement where they pay a set rate for the 4 events, plus they pay the cleanup costs. Being as we're joint partners, we ought to get some sort of agreement going anyway. And that's the start of it. So we can call it a contract, we can call it an agreement, we can call it whatever we want to call it.
And how did we set the price? Like the number that's in here, how did you come to the $600 price point?
I think it had to do with what they've been paying in the past.
So,
We have the past records of what they've been paying.
okay, and do you know what that is? The total for each, like how much for each of the events?
I'm sorry.
If you guys, or if it's possible that we ask our event contractor to help us with that, if she recalls.
It came up with,
I guess my only interest, let me go back. So my interest in asking the question is just to make sure that the district, if we're either going to break even, if that's the goal, or that we understand what we're investing. Like if it really costs us a little bit more than $600 a year to support it, that we're doing it consciously, that we consciously know the amount of money it's going to cost us to go.
one of the conversations I had with Ryan about this was that we would agree that this could be a document that if 600 seems like it's putting either one of us in the hole, or it isn't covering the expenses, we can revisit it. It's not going to be a set in stone, but we felt that was a good starting point. Because they will be taking care of the cleaning, that's separate. This is just to cover utilities, basically.
Okay. So I guess where did we get the information that says that this covers the cost of our utilities? I guess I'm curious as to what do we think, or what does it compare to what we were?
I think what we did is we went through what they've been paying for the events in the last couple of years, and we tried to make a summary of that and what an average was. And like we said, this is just a step. This is a start. We got to start somewhere, so this is a figure we came up with.
And just for a little clarity, it's not 4 annual events, it's 3 annual events and 12 monthly events.
So it's 15 events. Yeah, so it's 15 events. So it just seems like 600, I'm just guessing, might be a little low, just because there's a monthly supper club. That seems like if it was only 4 events, I can see that, but since it's really 15. My only interest, I support all of these events in our community. I support the board making it, like helping Friends of Monterey have them happen. So I'm not arguing to say no to doing it. I just really want to make sure we look at the numbers and that we're recording what we intend to support the event and have the district be in a good place from a liability and financial perspective. So that's what I'm trying to get to.
Right, and I think what we need, though, really is we do need a better idea of what the utilities actually are. And that's the propane and the lighting.
And there's significantly different events as well, the car show and, one type of event, the egg hunt, they're completely different. So I can certainly understand coming up with some sort of average, but I agree that a starting point should be what the actual cost of opening this place up is, just to make sure that, our costs are covered, not to make any money off of it, just break even, but, that kind of thing. So that part wasn't actually addressed in these meetings and stuff for the number of the 600 that we have today.
Could you speak up a little bit, please? I can't hear you.
So is there any reason why we can't ask the facilities committee to look at this? And I don't want to delay anything that's important or critical. Does this decision have to be made tonight? Or could we ask the facilities committee to actually look at what the cost is? Like go to PG&E and actually run the report, like go into the day and actually see what the spike is in utility use on the days that the supper clubs have happened, for example, and just to have like a rough idea of what it's really costing. Is there any reason that we can't?
Yeah.
PG&E won't give us that information.
It's online.
On this property? Because I asked for energy on this recently.
And you haven't been able to get it from
No.
Is there a smart grid?
No. No, we don't have smart.
Yeah.
There are.
No, I understand. understand that. I just don't, I just want to make sure we've actually covered our costs.
So what-
Because it just sounds low.
It is, I think, I agree. There are costs and loaded overhead and indirect overhead and things that, are relevant for one event and maybe not for another. But, yeah, I think that.
So my question is, so the concept, you like the concept, it's just the only problem you're going to have or not, question.
They're all
question
together, just questions.
is-
I just want to make sure
We're
that
covered.
600 is the right number, and that if it's actually, and maybe we agree to 600, even if it's going to cost us twice as much, but we consciously do that. I just want to make sure that we actually understand what we're signing. But I totally support it happening.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement.
Okay, yeah.
If I may make a point, we could possibly agree to it contingent on a review going on over the next, whatever, 3 to 6 months with PG or whoever to try and reconfirm that. And thus raise it up or down or whatever.
Yeah, up or down, that would be fine if it goes down too. That would fit. Having the programming in the community is absolutely part of it.
Like we have some of these events coming up, the auto shows coming up,
Yeah.
the dinners coming up.
And then the only other question I have is to be sure that we're still putting in place for each of the events what's the name of the agreement that we have for each time when they rent, facility use agreement, that we still have that in place and all of its terms and conditions are in full of that. Just with the negotiated price point essentially. Just want to make sure that was the intent.
That was,
as
the
well.
intent was do it once a year instead of every time there's an event.
Makes perfect sense.
And then you just roll on. If something happens one way or the other, we adjust it as we go.
I would be, with adding language that says all terms of facility use agreement are to remain in full effect for each of these events, and that the rate could be negotiated as new information is available, then I would support this. I would vote tonight on it.
Any other?
So does it mean, are we going to take it to the facilities committee then? Is that part
I
of
think
it?
that's the place where that work makes sense to have the work done, doesn't
Yeah.
that make sense?
Okay.
Because it's really a facilities use issue. How much does it actually cost to use the buildings?
Okay. So then we'll just table till next month? Or do you want to?
Would sit up for a vote tonight?
It was possible.
It's
Possible
possible.
vote?
Possible.
I would vote with those two things, with those additions that actually, with those two caveats, I would support. I would even make that a motion and approve it with those two.
Put it in the action items.
It's on action items for later?
Yeah.
Great, okay.
Possible vote.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's
Well, then
on
we'll
there.
get there and then we'll, perfect.
Okay.
Public comment.
You want to make comments?
Yeah. Can somebody on the facilities committee, are you the representative, Jean?
I'm not on the facilities.
Who's on the facilities committee?
I am
Is it
Kathy
you?
and I, yeah.
Okay, so can either one of you tell me how long this proposed agreement has been in negotiations?
For what?
For this agreement with the Friends of Montreal, how
They
long?
had an ad hoc committee with Steve and
It's
Jean.
been a couple
Yeah,
months, 2 months.
It was another committee that took care of it. It wasn't in the facilities level.
So it started in one place, it was moved
has-
to another?
yes.
But the basic information about PG&E costs, I'm assuming there's a share of insurance costs that's in there, and the maintenance of the building. It just, as a member of the public, it seems like it's taken too long to gather figures together that the center should have at all times, because people will come to you and want to rent your facility and maybe want to do it the same way the Friends of Montreal do, and to go through this 2-month, 3-month kind of thing over and over again makes no sense to me. So when you get that information, can Diane be the place where it lives so that this is something?
What you're saying is if we get the information, let's hold on to it. So
Yeah, so that the next time it can be done more
We
expeditiously.
can do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're in the business? No? Okay. Reports, information, any board reports?
I actually have a couple.
Okay.
The first thing I want to say is I'm sorry Mike Murphy isn't here. Shortly after our July board meeting, he sent an email to the entire board that wasn't included as a correspondence because it was addressed, it wasn't asked to be a correspondence. But talking about basically the disappointment over the beach not being open on Tuesdays. And out of that came this conversation about how he's been helping the district for all of these years do things like help people get out of the gates and all that kind of stuff. And as a director who's only been on the board for 2 years, I had no knowledge of that. I just wanted to thank him for all that he does because he lives right there on the property. And because it was addressed, we took it to the facilities issue, the committee, and the issue's been addressed, and Steve has been opening the gate to the beach on Tuesdays. But the concessionaire is closed and the canoe and kayak is closed. But the beach itself should absolutely be open the 7 days of the week. So I unfortunately can't reply back to Mike Ward because it was an email that was sent to the entire board. I was hoping he would be here. Second thing I want to mention is Wednesday is the deadline for nominations to run for this board. And I would encourage anyone who's interested in getting involved with this process to please go sign up and see the county board of registered voters. And Diane actually has the candidate statements.
Yeah, but you can't do anything with it. You have to physically.
Right, yeah, but at least there's some information available. We should have been getting this word out a lot sooner. In fact, there was a member of the public who came to us a couple of weeks ago and suggested we put it on our website, and we did. With that said, I would also like this board to address the issue that we talked about at great length in our board training in March about the code of conduct. It was put on the back burner because we were opening the beach, getting involved in season. I would very much like to be readdressed and have one put in place by the December board meeting so the new board can effectively, cohesively, as a board, sign it and be all on the same page. So I would like to have that get pursued somehow.
I wrote out what I call the practice of civility.
I'm sorry, Gina, I couldn't hear you.
I wrote one out a couple of months ago and thought it was going to be on the agenda, and it hasn't been, but I did write up.
So is there also very good on next month's agenda?
That would be really great. I'd like to get the ball rolling. I think it's very, very important for this board to work together and have it all on the same page. So that'd be great. That's all.
Okay.
Can you, Diane, can you make sure that the draft that Jean's created gets out to us like a whole week in advance?
Do you have it, or I can email it to you,
So we have a chance to
I'll
read it.
email it to you.
Okay. Any other board reports? If not, we'll staff reports.
I just included the 12-13 final budget with very minor adjustments to what we reported last month, just adjustments in tax revenue and very small. So all in all, we basically came in $1,000 on the budget, which is exactly what we planned. Our current July, we're still working on our 13-14 final budget, which we will have very, very soon. But all of our overages.
The final, we'll plan on having that on the agenda for final board vote at
Absolutely.
the next board meeting.
September meeting.
Yes,
Yes.
well, budget committee meeting in between them.
Correct, yeah. The only exceptions that we really had this month, obviously the beach income is higher than projected, and it may seem high, but our last year was even higher in July, and I think it's because it was so warm last July, and it's been pretty chilly this year, but we're still on track with that. So all of our budget exceptions, seasonal employees, the janitorial, especially due to the 4th of July, those are very much beach related. Propane use, which we get reimbursement from our concessionaire. We had a major incident with our front doors, and so we're quite a bit over in our building maintenance. That will level out. It may actually be capitalized when we finish it, because it's going to be a big major fix. So we don't know yet. There's really nothing. On the good news, I did get a response from the advisors on the San Francisco Foundation and Sequoia Trust, and they sent me the $10,000. I did thank them all individually, and we've got to keep them on our list for, grand opening or whatever we do, I think. So that was really surprising. We were getting it. And,
Is that it?
yeah.
Any
that's
questions?
it.
Okay, independent contractor report? No report. Okay, budget committee report? Just it.
We will hold a budget committee meeting.
Hopefully.
And we'll have the next
And
agenda,
I'll have
next
it.
month we'll vote on the final. Facilities Grant Committee, dog park, any discussion? Did we get any further?
No, we're in the process of putting together a description of what the dog park would include, so that Diane could get that to the property owners adjacent to the Recreation Park to see if there was any interest in expanding the area, so that it would actually reach from essentially the amphitheater site to Main Street, which is what we've been discussing in facilities. But we don't have anything finite on that yet.
Okay, so it's still work in progress.
Yeah.
Question about this. Does the new state law have any impact on your planning on that?
The new what?
The law that Governor Brown passed today or yesterday?
Related to
Dog
law?
parks. Dog parks and community dog parks.
I don't know.
Okay. It's something to look into. The new law went into going into effect soon.
What is the law?
Do you know what it is?
You know anything new that we? is
Yes,
there
he
something
signed
new?
it today.
But was there something new in it that we should know about is what I'm asking?
No, I'm not a dog park expert, but
Oh.
I think
I don't
facilities
think
should
any of us
probably
are dog
figure it out.
Okay, we'll get that information.
Okay, okay. I can get a copy of the bill.
Yeah, let me know if you take the facility. Okay,
Can I get a clarification? Where is this? From the amphitheater?
it's, you know where the bus stop is, next to Burger's building?
Right.
Behind that, from our property right up to the tennis courts in there. We have to be so many feet.
It's a pit.
No, to the right of the pit, there's a,
Oh,
yeah,
And it's proposed.
it's proposed, we're dealing with
So
property
it's,
owners.
yeah, it's not, nothing's.
In between Burger Construction
And the pit, yeah, and back to our property, back to the tennis courts, there's enough room, we have to have so many square feet. And we don't quite have enough in ours, so we're dealing with property owners who can get permission to move on, use their property also. Okay, joint powers agreement between Monterey Electric and